What is going on, everyone? It is Wednesday, September 25th, the day before my birthday, FYI, in case anyone wants to send me something amazing. No, just kidding. It's a Wednesday, so you know what that means? That's right. It's Ash Wednesdays. Ash on Comics presents. Joining me as always is Stan the Man and a trusty sidekick, Forky. I'm filming this on my iPad, so it's a little bit funky for me to do this. This is episode 9 of the normal Ash Wednesdays program. What is this? If you've never seen it, well, this is my weekly show, kind of a podcast, vodcast, if that word still has any meaning. Remember vodcast? That tried to become a thing where it's like the video podcast. Well, anyways. This is kind of a podcast style format, conversational. It started off as a comic book haul where I show off the comics I get every week. Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. And there, of course, is Doggo. Actually, his name's Luke. He likes to get in the action every time that I'm filming and make sure that we all see him. So say hello, Luke. He's kind of camera shy. Anyways, thank you for joining me. This is going to be a video where I talk about comics and talk about other things. Today's special subject, James Tynion IV gets Batman. So thanks for joining me. Let's go ahead and get on to the first thing that we do every week and unwrap or unbox a burger. All right, so this is going to be especially hard to do while holding a big 12-inch iPad. You try to hold one of these and use it as a camera, it's really freaking funky, especially since the camera itself is, I'm trying to get my finger in here, it's like the lens is like right there. So it's really off center and weird. So you're like, if you're watching this and you're like, what the hell is he doing? Well, this all started, it's a tradition. Every Wednesday when I get my comics, it's New Comic Book Day, and I do a ritual. I go to In-N-Out Burgers, one of my favorite places to go, and I get myself a nice burger for lunch, and I just started showing it off, and then I stopped showing it off, and the people were like, where's the burger? So it's kind of like with Zach, he shows off Luna in his videos all the time. Everyone wants to see the damn burger, which I don't mind. I love looking at it. Look at this. Ooh. Whew. It's a little bit messy. So, yeah, look at that. So it's really messy because I get extra spread on it and I get ketchup added, so it's really full of sauce. I'm going to go ahead now and eat this thing. You saw what it looks like. Not the best picture-perfect burger, but I don't care. It tastes fantastic, and I'm sorry you guys can't have one. Maybe if you have an In-N-Out in your area, you can time when the videos come out and get a video and eat burgers with me. That'd be fantastic. All right, so this is a new feature that I thought I'm going to do on my Ash Wednesdays. I'm going to do the top 10 digital sellers. These are compiled off of Comixology, pretty much the dominant digital marketplace for comics. It's owned by Amazon, so no surprise there. On the screen, I have the top 10 books that Comixology has listed for the previous week. So this is compiled as of before the new sales that come out today, and I'm not going to go over like the actual sales of shops and different things. My boy Englandine over at I Love Comics / Old Man Comics, he's got 2 different channels. He does a great video series that I love to watch where he talks about top 10, top 20 comics sold to stores and different things. He also does digital stuff. I'm just going to talk about this here because it's easy, and I do like to talk about these things. And it is relevant. What I like about the digital sales, while they may not be relevant to sales in stores and things like that, they are relevant to what people are reading. And that says a lot, because when you buy a digital comic, there is no collector value whatsoever. There's no speculation. No comic is being driven up because, there's a first appearance of this or da-da-da-da-da, or there's all these variant covers that are This is purely what people are interested in reading. And, I don't know if that's accurate to say. it's a slice of the digital market, right? So these are people who probably are like normies. They're not the hardcore comic nerds. So it's got good and bad points. It doesn't reflect the entire comic industry because it's a niche slice, but I think it's an interesting take, and I do think it's relevant, and it does say something just for comic fandom in general. So let's get started. Number 10, Valkyrie, Jane Foster. Now, I won't touch this book with a 10-foot pole. I was considering reviewing the book for the channel because I expected it to be terrible. And then I couldn't even get bothered with that. I just don't care. I don't know why anyone else cares. Jane Foster is a terrible character. She's a complete Mary Sue who's undeserving of her role. She was shoehorned into a role that doesn't even make sense, right? We already had a Thor. We didn't need her. And you say, well, you know, we need female empowerment, blobbity, blobbity, blobbity. You know, Storm wielded the hammer back once upon a time. She's sort of the goddess of thunder already. Oh, man, my phone keeps going off. So why do we need more? I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Sorry, I was distracted there. I was trying to get my phone from alerting. Sometimes Twitter just goes off the nuts. Number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy, number 9. This is Donny Cates telling a really fun story with Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the best thing at Marvel right now. I've likened Donny Cates to the Scott Snyder. DC has Scott Snyder. Marvel has Donny Cates. They're both. The reason I compare the two is they're both real big idea men, right? These guys are building new mythos. They're thinking outside the box. They're being really creative. Despite what you may or may not think of their writing skill or their storytelling ability, comics are more than just being able to tell a good story. That's an extremely important thing, and some writers, that's all they do, and that's fine. But other writers, we need to build the mythos. We need those crazy creative people like Jack Kirby, right? Jack Kirby was kind of one of those things. He just was like out the box, just wild imagination. Oh, I'm going to come, that's what builds this comic mythos. And we comic fans love our mythology, right? We can get drama stories all over the place. Books, TV, hell, even YouTube, people are doing fanfic. Wherever you want to go, you can find drama. But comics have this unique thing of building a unique world. We call it a multiverse or things like that. And we're fascinated to learn more about it. Anyways, I'm spending way too much time. Guardians of the Galaxy number 9 gets a thumbs up from me. Flash Forward number 1, I have a review of that on my channel. You can go see it. It's sort of a sequel to Heroes in Crisis. And everything I need to say about that book is in that video. Please check it out and give me some feedback on it. Number 7, Critical Role, Vox Machina Origins. I know nothing about this book, but apparently people are interested because it made the top 10 of digital comics, and that's pretty impressive for an indie book. Absolute Carnage number 3. This is a very fun event. I think it's an overpriced, gimmicky thing Marvel's doing, but fortunately, that guy we talked about earlier, Donny Cates, is in charge of this, and the guy has skills. So he's taking what would normally be a throwaway trash event from Marvel, scamming fans, and he's adding some value to it. So I recommend getting just the main books, the 5 core books of the miniseries. I've done a review on a couple of the spin-off books, and from what I've seen, you do not need them. Now, if you're all in, if you're like, I can't get enough of this and I want to know every little story and side bit, by all means, check out that stuff. But don't expect to get some, hardcore plot points or things. No, just read the main Absolute Carnage books and probably Venom, because he writes Venom. And in the last issue, number 3, he did say, check out Venom number 19 for blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, if you're a Cates fan, you're already reading Venom. If you're a Cates fan and you're reading Absolute Carnage and you're not reading Venom, let's have a talk. Number 5, Spider-Man number 1. Here's another book I did a review of. You can check it out. And I had a surprising reaction to it. Maybe not a popular reaction, but I think it's an accurate one. And I think I made my case pretty clear. please watch that video. Give me some feedback. Tell me what you think. Number 4, Superman number 15. Dang, here's another one. This is my most recent review. I did all digital. I did a little different format, so I could really appreciate the feedback on how that format works for you, because it might be how I go in the future. But please check that out, because I want feedback on the format, but also it's sort of my magnum opus thoughts on Bendis and what he's done to the Superman franchise and so forth. So it's kind of a longer video. It's about 30 minutes, but I cover the book, but I talk a lot about other Bendis's things and what he's done so far. And there's a lot to discuss. So if you're interested in hearing that, please check that out. And again, give me your thoughts. Tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm not always right. I absolutely know this. Justice League number 32. So happy to see this up there. I'm a big Scott Snyder fan. I was not a Justice League fan until Scott Snyder, and I gave it a chance because other YouTubers that I followed were like, oh, Justice League. And, it's one of my main books. It's like my staple thing. I got to get Justice League. And when they rebooted the series, I was kind of annoyed. I was like, damn, DC, why are you rebooting stuff? But since I wasn't a fan, it kind of was a jumping on point for me, I have to admit. And they were doing the Jim Lee covers where they just had one Justice League person on each of the covers. So I was like, you know what? As a collector, I'm just going to buy these alternate covers. It'll be like 6 or 7 issues, and I'll get each of the members with a Jim Lee art because I'm a Jim Lee fan. I was like, that's kind of cool. I can collect those, and it'll give me an excuse to check out what Justice League's all about. And then I fell in love with it. Like, Scott Snyder sold me on the story, and it's one of my top books at DC. So check out Justice League. Batman 79. Holy crap. This book is going off the rails. This started off so good. And in fact, I'm going to bring this up right now. I'm thinking about starting a new series to my channel that's going to be like shorter videos. What I'm thinking about doing is I stopped reading the Batman run somewhere before the wedding. I don't even remember where. And I just didn't pick it back up. I was too busy, backlogged with other comics, and I just didn't have the interest to I wasn't hooked on the book. And then everyone started bashing on the book and us watching videos. And then I was like, oh, this is a train wreck. But I do remember the beginning of Batman, loving it. I love that first 6-issue, that I Am Gotham arc. I love that. I do remember that, loving it. And I'm seeing the stuff now and seeing it's a train wreck. And so I'm thinking about doing a video series where I'm going to go back to number 1 and reread and find out where I left off, and then keep going and do the entire Tom King run. You're like, oh, Jesus, Ash, we don't have time to watch all those videos. You're forever. I'm thinking about doing 5 to 10 minute videos on these, just because everyone's read the books, they've seen the reviews, they're not looking for an in-depth thing, but more of me just kind of cataloging the transition of where it starts, because I know it starts off good, and I know if it, I want to see where it goes bad and just kind of document it real quick. And so tell me if that's something that would be interesting at all. I'm thinking about reading it. If it's not, if you're I would never watch those videos, even if they're 5 or 10 minutes long, then it's not really a point for me to do it. But I thought it'd be kind of a cool supplementary thing to do, because I'm going to read them anyway. Otherwise, if no one's interested, I'll just binge the books and forget about it. But some feedback would be cool on that. And then finally, House of X number 5. This is no shocker. This is the most exciting thing in comics right now. I don't think it's the best comic, but it might be the best continuity comic. That strong argument for. I do think Curse of the White Knight and Scott Snyder's Last Night on Earth, which is phenomenal. I think these two are better comics so far, but hey, I haven't seen the ending of House of X. But that's not a slight against House of X. Those two comics are some of the best books I've read. I think Last Night on Earth, if it ends well, might be one of the best Batman comics I've ever read, period. It's phenomenal. So, but those two are Elseworlds miniseries things. House of X is a continuity book, and Hickman had his work cut out for him because X-Men has been trashed for a long, long time. And even though I think those other two books are better, this book is more it begs you to talk about it and theorize and think about it and want to reread it, and it's just interesting. He's got so much world building. I love it. So that makes sense why it's number one. It makes sense why everyone's reading it. The Batman book doesn't. These are the top sellers. What do you think? This is kind of important here because we talk about, what other things are interesting. Notice some things in here. There's no Amazing Spider-Man. And there's no Immortal Hulk. Everyone talk about, Immortal Hulk's killing Batman. Well, maybe in some sales, but, this is what readers are interested in reading. I'm surprised to see Jane Foster Valkyrie, but some of these other books kind of make sense to me. Flash forward to number one. So number one's always garner attention regardless. But when you see books like number 32, and it's the third most interesting book, Batman, number 79? It makes you think. It makes you wonder, what are people interested in reading? Well, anyways, this went on way too long, so I'm going to go ahead and end it. Here's the part that people are used to. I've been doing this on my channel for a long time. This is the Marvel number ones, except you're not looking at a cardboard box this time. I actually have pictures for you guys to look at. Everyone likes pictures, right? But don't worry, if you're off doing the dishes and listening to this on the side, you don't have to actually watch anything. That's kind of why I describe what's on the screen, in case anyone's wondering, why are you telling us what's on the screen? We can see it. Because I'm assuming you might be driving and listening. You might be at work listening. I don't know what you're doing. You might be taking a dump and listening. Sorry for the bad imagery there, but you know what I'm saying? So Marvel number ones. You got to get your number ones from Marvel, because these things were going to put you through college. And, they don't come around very often. A number one, don't you wish you were there for Spider-Man number one? Don't you, you could have, or the original X-Men number one, you could have been there, but they don't come around that often. And when you miss the boat, you miss the boat. So I'm here to tell you about all the number ones week after week that, that are really rare, that you don't see often, even though they're week after week in multiples. So this week, we start off with a list with New Mutants War Children, number one. This is a one-shot by Chris Claremont, Bill Sienkiewicz. For anyone that has a problem saying his name, it's not Sienkiewicz or Sienkiewicz, it's Sienkiewicz. If you know how to say his name, great, fantastic. I'm not saying you did. I don't know. I've just heard people say they don't. Anyways, you don't care about that. New Mutants. This is something I skipped. I love Chris Claremont. I don't have a problem with Bill Sienkiewicz, other than he's kind of a weirdo online, but I'm not buying into this Marvel 80 years crap. It's nonsense. You know what? Put Chris Claremont on one of the new X books. Why don't you do that? Give Chris Claremont, instead of Teenie Howard, Leah Williams, those guys are on it, not Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont is the freaking legend. It's like, so I'm not buying this book. It's going to have nothing to do with the current X story. It's just going to be some random one-off shot. It's going to go down the memory hole. I've heard some rumors so far, people read it, that it's pretty good. Of course, it's Chris Claremont. I never was a big New Mutants fan, even when he was doing it back in the day. I just never liked the concept of the New Mutants. It's not that they were bad. They were just there for me. And I'm not drawn to Chris Claremont on one-shots anyway. Especially modern Chris Claremont, where he's just way out of the loop and he's working with shit that's, whatever. Chris Claremont, what made Chris Claremont great was his ability to craft a long saga. And this was something that was relatively new back then. Nowadays, everyone wants to do it. Tom King is, I'm doing a 100-issue Batman story, whatever. That was Chris Claremont's thing. He kind of broke that mold. Before Chris Claremont, and even during Chris Claremont, comics were very much like pick up an issue, you had a story, and that was it. And it's not to say that that's a bad concept. People still love that, and it's there. That's not what I loved. And so I grabbed, anyways, so New Mutants is there if you want it. It's $5. Then we get Strike Force. Speaking of Teenie Howard, oh my God, look at this crappy looking comic. What the hell am I looking at? Look in the back. Is that Angela in the background there? See, that's the girl I talked about. What Jane Foster being this, character is not deserving. You already had a Valkyrie, right? Brunhilde was already Valkyrie. You killed her to give it to Jane Foster. We even had someone else that was Valkyrie, right? Remember the Black Valkyrie? that was in Exiles that they copied from the movie verse, the MCU. What happened to her? Is she just mysteriously dead? Did we like whitewash? Sorry, you're not good. We got to give it to Jane Foster. But then even more, you have this Angela character, which you battled to get from McFarlane, right? And then he kind of stole it from McFarlane's Spawn. You got it in your own books, and then you waste this character. No one cares about this character because you have no idea what to do with it. And you throw it in this throwaway book that I don't know why anyone would get this, other than maybe you're a massive Blade fan or something. That book will set you back $3.99. Here is Star Wars Age of Resistance, Kylo Ren. And oh my gosh, look at this cringy cover. Like, how effeminate and wussy does Kylo Ren look right here? He just looks like, hey, I have a sword. Look at me. Oh, it's terrible. This is awful. Oh, this art is... No, Kylo Ren should look scary and menacing. Not like emo wussy boy. I know sometimes he looks that way in the movies or whatever, but honestly, most of the time he's portrayed kind of scary. I hate this cover. I hate these Star Wars Resistance books. They're all number ones. They're all scam books. And this is Tom Taylor. The guy writes nothing but trash over at Marvel. I have yet to see any evidence whatsoever of Tom Taylor writing anything halfway good at Marvel. It's complete and utter trash. And this one will set you back $3.99. Collect them all. Speaking of number ones, this is a theme here. Wolverine, Acts of Evil, annual, number one. So continuing in the trend of Marvel cashing in on annuals in which there are not ongoing books, here's Wolverine. Oh, we don't need a book. Here's the annual. And it's a number one, right? Because you can't continue the annuals from the previous series. You got to restart the annuals, which will be great because when Wolverine finally gets his own book again, you can start the annuals over again. Oh, it's just stupid. Whatever. It's Jody Houser writing Wolverine. Come on. This is going to set you back $4.99. I really hope you enjoy this if you buy it. And finally, last but not least, The Avengers, Loki Unleashed by Roger Stern, Ron Lim, Scott Hanna, and Espen, I can't even pronounce that last name. It's a number one. It's a reprint. Love when Marvel makes old stuff into number ones, then charges you $4.99 for them. But this is a golden time of Marvel back in the 80s, back when Captain Marvel was a black woman before she got whitewashed. Back when Tony Stark had the Silver Centurion armor and he was cool. Look at this. Back when Thor was worthy and Captain America wasn't. Oh, no, actually, this is Nazi. This is a Nazi cat. We just didn't know he was a Nazi because it wasn't revealed yet. This is going to set you back $4.99. Enjoy that. So that's the number ones from Marvel. If you want to get all of them, you're going to set you back $22.95 to add to your pull list. This week, Marvel had 26 new comics come out. This is just actual comics. If you want to count the variants and so forth, it's actually 71 comics. And I don't have the prices for you, but there you go. All right. For this next segment, we're going to talk about James Tynion getting Batman. James Tynion, actually, his name is James Tynion, I found. But I've been calling him Tynion for so long, it's hard to say it right. I saw an interview, and he said his name out loud, and it was James Tynion. So I'm going to try to say James Tynion in respect for pronouncing people's names right. But, when you say it wrong for so long, it's hard. Like, I can't stop saying Mark Millar, even though I know it's Mark Miller. But, James Tynion was announced to be receiving the Batman series. He's going to be, when Tom King ends his run at 85, James Tynion will be picking the series up for Batman 86. This has been a kind of a surprisingly controversial thing in comics. I'm surprised. It's really kind of taken me back because, everyone's been bitching about Tom King's Batman being like the most horrendous thing ever. We have, some comic YouTubers being like, I'm done with Batman. I'm not going to buy comics ever again until Tom King's off. Okay, and then Tom King gets off, and then they put, James, a new person on, and then it's like, I don't know, I don't know about this guy, and it's just like, is anything gonna make you happy? Like what? I feel like no matter what DC does, there's gonna be someone that grumbles, right? They're never gonna please everyone. But I'm a fan of James Tynion. When I came back into comics, I didn't know a lot of the new writers and stuff, so I was kind of exploring. I was getting into DC, which was kind of new to me as a big old Marvel fanboy. And one of the first books I came across was I was picking up all the New Age of Heroes books, because I was like, oh, this is a great jumping on point for a new DC fan. I don't have to, I'm getting these number ones and I'm jumping on just like the old fans. They don't know anything about these books. I don't know anything about. It's great. I don't have to feel like some total noob. And so I bought most of the different books. I explored them all. The only two that I didn't try was Brimstone and Sideways, just because Justin Dorton is a total asshat and he screws over other creators that I like. And he's a total jerk to fans, and screw him. He's not getting my money. So he was writing both of those books. I didn't. And I didn't get the Terrifics because I wasn't really a Fantastic Four guy, and that looked like a Fantastic Four analog, and I was just like, and I couldn't buy them all anyway. So I picked the 4 out of the 8 that I wanted to buy, and then as DC slowly started canceling them, I started picking up the other ones. Like, I ended up picking up Damage later on. I picked up Silencer later on. And then they got canceled, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to... Terrifics was like the only one left. I'm like, I'm not going to pick up Terrifics because that'll just get canceled too. And fortunately, it hasn't been canceled, so maybe I broke the curse there. All you Terrifics fans can thank me. I would like to read them later in trade. I've heard nothing but good things. I have nothing against the Terrifics, other than just my own subjective, reactions. But anyways, we're here to talk about James Tynion. And Mortal Men was my favorite of all of the books. I loved Immortal Men. I love what James Tynion was doing. I would like that guy to write X-Men. I know Hickman's doing a fantastic job, but if Hickman were ever to leave, and you're like, who could pick up and do an X-Men run? There's not a lot of writers out there, really, that I would actually be kind of interested in Donny Cates maybe, or Scott Snyder. But I think James Tynion fits that mold. He's got this interesting... He knows how to write teams, and he knows how to do new, interesting things. Anyways, so he made a statement that I really liked hearing. And I'm going to read it here for those of you that don't look at the screen. He says, I loved writing stories for Batman, Eternal, Detective Comics, and even Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But my desire to tell a Batman story, one focusing solely on Bruce Wayne instead of an ensemble, is what drove me back to the Batcave, said Tynion. I want to dig deep into the Bat himself and tell an epic story that pushes him to his absolute limits. I want to tell a Batman story like the kinds I grew up loving, one that embraces the horror and gothic elegance of Gotham and dives deep into Batman's greatest villains. Now, this sounds fantastic to me. And one of the number one criticisms I hear about James Tynion, people go, they're the naysayers, is they're like, his Detective Comics was not good, da, da, da. And I admit, I didn't pick up James Tynion's Detective Comics either because it was all about the Bat family. And he was quoted at one point talking about the comic and saying that he wasn't comfortable writing Batman, which is why he focused on the Bat family. And that was like a bigger red flag because I want to read about Batman. And I appreciate that you write what you're comfortable with and try to stick to your strengths, so forth. And there are people that liked the Detective Comics run. I just was kind of afraid to try it because I was like, I'm not a big Bat family guy. If you're not comfortable writing Batman, I just heard some things about it and it just didn't sound good from my perspective. So I stayed away. I jumped on when Brian Edward Hill took over because he was comfortable. He presented that, oh man, I'm embrace this challenge. I love me some Batman. He was like, and I'm going to tackle these characters. And I was like, all right, like, I don't like these characters, but you seem to really like them. So let me try you out. And he did. He kind of sold me on. Now I'm picking up Batman and the Outsiders even. So moving forward, a lot of people are kind of naysaying it because of that. But I'm like, wait a second. James Tynion wrote Immortal Men, which I still argue is the best of the New Age of Heroes. Not everyone's going to agree with me, but I think it was. he's writing Justice League Dark, which at one point was even better than Justice League, which is Scott Snyder's doing. He's co-writing Justice League with Scott Snyder. And he's writing one of the best books at DC, which is partially a Batman book, which is Batman TMNT Part 3, that miniseries. It is fan-freaking-tastic. Now, it's not exactly what I would want out of a Batman book, but it's good writing. And the jury's still out of whether or not Tynion is capable of writing a good Dark Knight, solo Batman book. I always talk about not every writer is suited to write every kind of book. This is, just writers know different things, and some writers are just really gifted in certain areas. One of my favorite novelists was Tom Clancy, but I wouldn't want to see him write a love story, right? Or a fantasy novel. But when it comes to geopolitical thrillers, holy shit, does that dude know his stuff? And he wrote some of my favorite books of all time. So just because you're a great writer doesn't mean you know how to write every subject or every genre, so we'll see. But I'm rooting for James Tynion because I like what he does, and I like what he says here, right? He was also, recently he went on to social media and he tweeted out to everyone, basically to fans, saying, hey, tell me what you want to see in a Batman book, which I thought that's really great. Embracing the fandom. It's a really good look to say, hey, I know who I'm writing for, right? You guys are the guys that pay my bills, and I care about what you think. Now, is James Tynion going to take everyone's word and just be like, oh, I'm going to, no, probably not. But it's a good faith show. I never see Tom King going out there and saying, you guys, I want to embrace your feedback. Tell me. He just doesn't give a shit. He argues with fans. When fans tell him, dude, your shit sucks, we hate it, he just basically tells us we don't know what we're talking about. And it's disrespectful. It's like, dude, this isn't your character, right? This isn't Sheriff of Babylon. I'm not going to criticize that book at all because you can do whatever you want with it. You made it up. It's your thing. But Batman isn't owned by you. It's owned by us, the fans, right? Not in a legal sense, but in a spiritual sense. The fandom made Batman. He's an iconic character, and you have a duty to respect that audience. Yeah. So Tynion's doing that, and so another prop to him. So I'm going to root for James Tynion. He may fail. He may fall on his face, and that'll suck. But I'm not going to be angry about it because the dude seriously seems to want to try. He wants to do a good job, and he seriously cares. And if he fails, it's going to suck, and I'll be bummed that I didn't get it. But I won't be angry the way I am with Tom King, who seems to be reveling in his failure. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a difference. It's one thing to be like, you just didn't write a good book, and I just didn't like it. I'm not going to be mad because you couldn't write a story that I liked. But I am going to be mad that you're going to throw it in my face and try to tell me that I'm the stupid one that just can't appreciate your story. When I'm the one forking over the money. I may stop buying the book if it bores me, but hey, you're trying hard. DC, you earned the job at DC, and you're respectful to me, and you tried to listen to me, and you're trying to do a good job. And it's like me making my videos. Some people are going to listen to this video, and they're just going to be like, God, why does this Ash guy go on forever? I don't want to watch any more videos. And that sucks for me. I don't want that to happen, but believe me, I'm trying. I'm not out there to be like, screw you then if you don't want to watch. I don't think that way at all. I listen to all the feedback. I consider it. I try to apply it as best I can. All right, I'm going off the rails on this. I just wanted to touch on a few things and say my piece about the whole James Tynion thing, and maybe give you guys some things to think about. My boy Wes did a video recently on this. He talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's really well done, really well thought out, concise thoughts. He doesn't do the off the cuff rambling like I do. He scripts it all out ahead of time, so it comes off more professional. But take a look at his opinions. I really liked his video. I thought he was really fair. Before I end this last part, though, I do want to talk about not only is James Tynion doing this, but I can't put you on camera, dog, because I'm doing this digitally. Yep, he just walks away. So Tony Daniel's doing the art, and some people, that's their favorite artist. I'm not as big of a Tony Daniel fan, but if that's your favorite artist, and Tom King's leaving, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't pick this up. So that's a good sign. They're not just letting him hang himself with some crap artist. They're not pulling a Hawkman on him. And I want to say finally, the last thing is, 2 points. Number one, James might not have full control of this book. Bear that in mind, right? So if there's some weird stuff is going on, like Alfred being dead, for example, it's not his fault. He didn't do that. Sometimes these writers are forced into storylines and concepts that it's not their doing, but the higher ups like Didio, which we all point the finger at, are saying this is what you have to do. So be understanding of that when you're reading the books. It may not be his fault of what's going on. And then finally, I hear a lot of people go, yeah, well, it's going to be stupid because at issue 100, Bendis is going to take over. That may or may not be the case, and that's a very valid fear and a concern, and I share that as well. But here's what I think. I'm going to buy this book, and I'm going to give it my full support until Tynion gives me a reason, or DC gives me a reason to not give it my full support. Because if that were to happen, if Bendis were to take over, what I would hope to see is legions of fans going, Tom King's done, we're going to buy Batman again, and all of a sudden see that book go from whatever it's at now, 50 plus thousand sales or whatever, to shoot up over 100 again. Send that message that we're excited. Yay, yay, the king is dead. Long live, Tynion. And then when Bendis takes over, watch those sales, pull your support and watch those sales drop again. So that the bean counters at DC can go, under Tom King, sales crash, then Tynion takes over, sales spike, then Bendis takes over, sales crash. Do you see what I'm saying? That can only happen if we fans vote with our wallets. So I can't tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you what to like. But I hope I give you something to think about for yourself. That's all on this one. Thank you for listening to me blabble on about the James Tynion Batman news. And let's get to the next segment. All right. The final segment, the creme de la creme. This is the coup de grace. I don't even know what I'm saying. This is my pull list for the week of the 25th. As you can see here, it's supposed to be $32 after the discount and everything. But the receipt shows otherwise. The tail of the receipts. Always show your receipts. Remember, SJWs and progressive yahoos that want to destroy comic fans are going to always accuse you of not actually being a real comic fan or buying comics. And, we're the ones actually supporting this industry and this hobby. So, yeah, that's always show your receipts. Here's my haul starting off with back issues. This is my back issue binge. Trademark Dave Asanowicz. He's got his own little channel, Back Issue Binge. I urge you to check it out. He's just starting out. It's a small channel, but he's got some cool stuff. I love how he does his videos. Dave, if you're watching this far, thank you so much for being a viewer of mine and being a good guy. This is my first back issue here. I picked up Die, Die, Die #1. And you say, Ash, don't you have Die, Die, Die #1? Well, yeah, I do, but I don't have this version without the little text balloons, which I really like. It seems kind of rare. Also, I recently was going through my box and I was, pulling out the comics, and I was lifting it out of the box, but I pulled it forward prematurely, and so it kinked the spine here, and my OCD just went frickin' ballistic, having the #1 issue of that series just be instantly shot down to very fine condition or something. So I was like, ah! So it cost me $4.50, but I got the edition that I wanted out of that. So there you go. Next up, Daredevil #2. I found it. Woo-hoo! God, it's hard with this camera. I don't know where my hand goes. It's it's so off. I was wrong before, by the way. The lens is right here, Not over there. It's right here. So yeah, it's just this big ass screen. Anyways, you don't care about that. Daredevil 2, I got it. All I need now is number 1. Sergeant Batts was kind enough to donate the first 3 issues digitally to me. I did a review on those first 3 issues and appropriately shouted him out and his channel. And I'm still thankful for those. I'm thankful for being turned on to the series, even though it's now costing me money. But I'm really enjoying this book, and I'm glad now that I have hard copy editions of this book because my collection started at 5. And it really annoys me when you're a collector and you have a run and you're like, really? There's 4 issues? You just can't get those 4 issues? So 2, 3, and the one that I was missing, either digitally or hard, number 4. So yes, I can now read all of these and not have to worry about borrowing or doing anything. They are mine. I do have number 1 digitally, so I technically own the rights to the book, if you want to think about it that way, to Daredevil. And all I need to do is find number 1. Good luck on that. Now let's move on to new comics. The one book I was so excited to hear about this, and I found out about it yesterday. I mean, I knew the book existed, but it was a Indiegogo, and I don't back Indiegogo books because they're $25 and up comics, and I just don't have the budget to do that. I just don't. I'm not criticizing anyone who does. I was on a stream on England Teen Stream last night. We were talking about this, and I likened it to exotic sports cars. Some people like paying $1 million for a sports car. That's fine for them. I don't want the car industry to be nothing but exotic sports cars. But I love this comic, and I love this creator, and he's a person who does the Indiegogos, but then he takes his books and he puts them into stores later. And that is Timothy Lim. And this is Walmite, First Term Part 2. This is the sequel to My Hero Macadamia. I talked to Timothy on Twitter, and I was like, dude, you got to keep it My Hero Macadamia. But apparently there was some legal things, and I think he was advised by lawyers or so forth to change the name just to be proactive and avoid any legal disputes down the road, right? He's just trying to be safe than sorry, and I get it. It kind of sucks. I think he'd be able, as a layman, I would think he'd be able because it's a parody, but maybe there's a trademark issue because trademark doesn't care about your parody. So I don't know. But anyways, it's the same story, same thing. I don't think Walmite is quite as good of a term, but it is what it is. And Timothy Lim, he delivers, and this is what I want. I want comics in stores, and I can buy them. And I got it in a store, and I was so worried it was going to be sold out. I got to the store just 10 minutes after it opened, and there was only 2 or 3 left on the shelf. I was like, ah! Also, Alterna. I'm supporting Alterna. I get almost all the Alterna books that come out. There's a few that I don't. And my store doesn't buy Alterna by default, so I have to special order. So if I don't know that they're coming out, then I don't get them, and then they're super hard to get. It's a pain in the ass. I don't know. I'm trying to convince them. I'm like, look, you've got to cover. They're $1.50. You should put these up by the front counter. I guarantee you can find 5 people. My store is a big store. There's 5 people you can push this book on and say, hey, try it out. Just buy it, $1.50. Someone's going to try it out. Whatever. Now, on to DC. Speaking of $1.50 issues that you should try out, here's even cheaper. DC's got their dollar comics. Now, I think this is a dumb name, Dollar Comics, for 2 reasons. Number 1, it doesn't have the ring of True Believers. DC's always got to be boring and dull. It's Marvel's always cool and stuff and hip, and DC's just And number 2, don't ever call your stuff by the dollar. Remember when Carl's Jr. entered, they came up with their $6 burger. Yeah, they ain't $6 anymore. Guess what? You can't call them a $6 burger. Remember dollar stores? Remember there was a store called The Dollar Store? Yeah, nothing's a dollar anymore. Things gonna change. Eventually, remember the dollar menu at fast food places? Now they're the value menu. You can't. so eventually they're going to have to stop calling it the dollar comics, because they're going to be like $1.25 comics or $1.50, and then that doesn't have a ring to it. And then not only that, but when you change the name, you're going to draw attention to the fact that the price went up. It's just a bet, and it's boring anyways. You don't care about that. Why am I rambling? Next issue, I pick up Flash. I really like this cover. It's cool. It pisses me off because every time I see this, though, I go, that's the Wally that's not dead, and this is the guy that caused Wally to be dead. Not directly. He didn't kill him, but it's Dan Didio's wanting. Anyways, you get it. But I picked this up for my friend's daughter to encourage her reading, and plus Sean Williamson's good writer, Sean Williamson. I also pick up Justice League Dark. Remember this guy we were talking about, James Tynion? So he's doing Justice League Dark. It's a good book. I don't even like these characters. That's the thing. Not a fan of Swamp Thing. Not a fan of Wonder Woman. Not a fan of some chimp with a sword. But now I am, because James Tynion, right? Like, so that's a good writer. If he can sell me on characters that I think are dopey, and I go, I don't want to read these guys, and then I read it and go, oh, I do now. Thank you. That's a sign of a good writer. At least he's doing something right? Speaking of a good writer who's doing something right, holy crap, Robert Venditti. This is number 9 in 12 issues miniseries, Freedom Fighters. I picked this up because, number one, Robert Venditti is one of my favorite writers at DC, and one of my favorite writers, period. Holy shit. If you have not read his Valiant Exo-Man of War from like 2012, he did a whoa, go find it. Exo-Man of War, start from the beginning. It's awesome. Hashtag also read Hawkman. Freedom Fighters started off really slow. People were like, expecting the world because of Venditti, and they're like, but then it started picking up like at issue 5, and it's been woo. So it's a cool book. This is what classic comics are all about. This is a book about fighting real Nazis, not the stupid Nazis at the edge of whatever. I'm not going to get in with them. Batman, Superman, number 2. I gave a review of this book. Recognize this name? Joshua Williamson. Yeah, that's the same guy. He also writes an independent book that I love called Birthright. If you haven't heard of that book, check it out. If you like fantasy stories at all, the sort of like hero's journey, I urge you, go on Comixology somewhere, get the first trade of Birthright. It will. If it does not sell you, then don't go any further. But that book hooked me. I did a review of it with Sergeant Bats a while back when we had this Ash and Bats show, and we did that book. And I was so enamored with that book, I went out immediately. I went on eBay and I found almost the entire collection, and now I'm a collector of it because I could talk. Maybe I'll do another video on that series because it needs some love and attention. By the way, if you hate what Bendis is doing with Superman and you hate Tom King's Batman, here's your opportunity to get Batman and Superman in a book that's good. It's got good art. I'll do a review on this book later. But also, speaking of Batman that doesn't suck, we've got Detective Comics. Now, I think Tomasi's a good writer. I like what he does with Batman. I have to be honest, this story that's going on, first of all, it does not have anything to do with Mr. Freeze. This is now the 3rd issue, and it's got Mr. Freeze on the cover because it's the year of the villain, and it's not a Mr. Freeze story. It's a story about Deadshot on an island with Bruce Wayne and a bunch of rich billionaires because plane crash, and Bruce Wayne's having to try to stop him, except he's not got his Batman stuff, and it's an interesting little tale. It's not a bad story by any means. The art is kind of and it's just like, yeah, this could be so much better. But here's the problem. DC won't invest in this. Tomasi's not their guy. He's not the Bendis. He's not the King. So while Tom King gets Clayman, and he gets all the the big artists to support him, and Bendis gets Ivan Rice, and who's the other guy that he gets? He's got Jamal Campbell for his Naomi. They get all the support, they get all the advertisement and all the stuff, building events around it. Tomasi's just left to like, okay, and Doug Monkey's a decent artist, but actually he wasn't the artist on the previous books. So this will upgrade. I don't know. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know. Just, it's good, but it's disappointing in that it should be better. Speaking of better, Batman, Curse of the White Knight. Here we go. What more can I say? This is one of my favorite comics. This goes down instant classic. This is like, if I can only take one long box of comics, or whatever, like to a desert island, this is going to be it. I have not been this excited about Batman comics since Frank Miller back in the 80s. And some people are going to roll their eyes and, Frank, like, no, he was that good. Like, if you weren't around in the 80s when this was happening, people just don't understand. They only know like the hindsight and they go, that guy's overrated. But no, like Frank Miller came on and it was like electricity, like supercharging Batman. And his art was fantastic. His writing was even better than his art. And I feel like Sean Murphy's like the same thing. I discovered him because of his art. I loved his art. And then I read his writing and I'm like, damn, you might even be a better writer than an artist. And this is a guy who's just getting his feet wet. So I really, really love this book. I've been reviewing it. I love this book. I can't even speak. I love this book. I love this book so much that I do what I normally never do. And this should be the testimony. I bought it twice. I am an anti-variant cover guy. This book is worth $8 to me. Now, I'm glad that DC is not charging me $8. I'm volunteering to buy it twice. That's what it should be like. I know I'm kind of being a hypocrite here, but this book means something to me in both its quality and its sentimental value, because the original White Knight's what got me back into comics. So it's kind of like the original X-Men from the 80s that got me into comics. Those have sentimental value to me as well. And so I just like owning those. Segue. Moving on to Marvel. Only one Marvel this week, and it's X-Men. Stand up. Well, it's Powers of X. It's not really X-Men. And that's important delineation, because the people in this book are not the X-Men. I mean, they are, but they're not. And I've talked about this in my reviews, if you want elaboration. But this book is exciting. And I stopped reading X-Men back in the late 90s, mid-90s, somewhere around there, I forget. And once I lost interest in X-Men, I lost interest in comics in general, because X-Men was the best to me. That was my anchor. And, I didn't hate comics, or anything. I just was like, it's just not as good anymore. And other things caught my attention and so forth, whatever. I haven't bought comics like as a collector. I've dabbled here and there. I came back. Well, Frank Miller's got a miniseries. I come and buy that, whatever. But I haven't been like an active comic buyer, or the weekly thing for like 20 years. And I would not buy this because X-Men. I keep looking. Every time I come back around comics, I look, what's X-Men doing? What are they doing? And I go, oh, geez, it looks terrible. No one gets X-Men. But along comes Hickman, and I poo-pooed it. I was like, this looks terrible. Well, I didn't say it looked terrible, but I was like, look, this is the third X-Men reboot in 2 years. Marvel is trash. They knew Uncanny X-Men was going to be canceled when they launched it, and they tricked everyone and told them it was this ongoing series, and they were committed to, we're bringing back the X-Men you love, Uncanny X-Men. Oh, yay, yay. And then they just pulled the rug out from under them. It's like, and then we found out they knew about it 6 months before they launched it, that Hickman was going to come on, but they kept it secret in order to sell 22 comics in 6 months. So, yeah, they scam the fans, and it's so aggravating. Before that, you had the yellow, blue, and red, and black, and the rainbow X-Men, as I like to call them. Those all got canceled. They're all garbage. It was obvious to me that Marvel was even way worse than they had been when I was fed up with X-Men. And I was like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. And then he's like, oh, Hickman's great, everyone said. And I was like, it doesn't matter how great it is. Marvel sucks. Like, this is another trick. Why were you going to buy it? And I got sucked in. It's good. I have to admit. I will call a spade, but I will give credit where credit's due. I do have bias. Everyone has bias, but I try very hard to be objective, and I will admit when I'm wrong, and I will promote things that deserve promotion. And right now, this book deserves promotion. It's exciting. Everyone's talking about it. It's my number one viewed videos when I do it. Talk about it on the Comics Aficionados stream over on Wes's channel, Thinking Critical. So yeah, you probably know about this. I'm just beating a dead horse at this point. That's my comics for this week. I don't have them splayed out, so you can tell me what you think the best of the best is. This whole new iPad thing is new to me. But that's what Apple wants. They don't want people that know what they're doing to buy their products, because then they won't buy their products. See what I did there? What do you think's best? Let's get the boys in on this. I'll put Stan right there. It's either going to be Curse of the White Knight or Powers of X, because those are clearly the best. And then Forky, where are you going, buddy? Where are you going? Oh, I didn't even talk about this dollar comic about why I bought Heroes in Crisis. I'm not going to go back to do that. This is a good week. I don't see anything bad. I'm going to maybe say Scrimshaw. And not because Scrimshaw's trash. I mean, this lineup is good. So, yeah, this is a great week. This is a good time to be excited about comics. I hope you guys can find something exciting about comics. There's a lot to be critical about, and I don't blame you. And I will be the first one to rant and rave and criticize and bitch and moan and all that stuff. But don't let that suck you down in a black hole of negativity, right? Balance that out with the positive. I mean, the reason I think most of you guys, if you're upset like I am, it's because you love it so much. People don't get upset about things that they don't care about. So if you do care about comics, think about that for a moment. Think about, I'm pissed off that Tom King's running Batman. Well, it's because you love Batman. So find the good things about who's doing a good Batman and balance your pissed off, attitude with, praising that and saying, hey, look, I love this. This is awesome. Enjoy good comics. If you pay enough money for them, enjoy them. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, put your comments below, all that good stuff. Join the conversation on Discord, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.